Welcome to Connecting Greeks, a streaming comedy show and podcast designed to explore and enhance Greek culture around the world. Join hosts Angelo, Ari, and Foti as they bring you fun and interesting guests from all walks of Greek life. Grab a cafedaki and join us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another fantastic episode of Connecting Greeks. I am Ari. I am here coming live from DC. Even though I have a Boston backdrop, I am in DC. And with me always, Foti. Foti, how are you, man?
Also, Ari, I'm doing pretty good. And yourself?
I'm doing as good as I can be. You know, we're trugging along. And speaking of doing as good as you can be, all the way from lockdown, California, got Angelo Tsaroukas. Hey, Angelo.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Angelo.
See you guys again, as always, our weekly chit-chat on Connecting Greeks.
Yes, and you know, you had a very Canadian background, and now you have a very LA Hollywood background, which is very cool. But now I kind of miss the Canadian side.
You got we had the hockey jersey going, and I had that whole California minimum security prison look. So we're trying to upgrade it for the show, right? Gives them a little bit, and I can see the Hollywood sign from my house anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Awesome.
But yeah, we're on lockdown, and I think this show is more essential now than ever, not just for the people listening, but for us.
Yes.
And somebody's phone's going off. Which is good, which is okay. You know what? It's okay. It's COVID. Like, it doesn't matter if phones go off or kids are walking around.
Oh,
I think we're used
COVID,
to it.
We're live. It's all good.
So we have as you know, we try to diversify our guests who are of the Hellenic background. I'm very excited today about this. Our guest coming up today, her name is Stephanie Kacoyanis. And he is a contralto operaist. It's a very unique voice that rare most people can even. She's critically acclaimed and has been praised for her majestic tone by arts, vocal brilliance, and spiritually rich performance. Boston musical intelligencer. She is gaining recognition as an accomplished interpreter of opera, oratorio, and contemporary repertoire.
Wow.
This girl has done a lot of things. Recently, Miss Kacoyanis appeared as Queen Mary in the world premiere of Arnold Rosner's The Chronicle of Nine, an Odyssey opera. Under the baton of Gil Rose, the Boston Globe described her performance as the standout performance of the evening.
Wow.
But that's awesome. The Boston Globe, Boston people aren't known for giving out compliments, but
they don't mess around.
And it goes on. She's done the Midsummer Opera, 4 poems of St. Teresa. It goes on, but I think it's best we bring her on. I think it's best we bring her on, and I'm very happy. The very beautiful and talented Stephanie Kacoyanis. Welcome to Connecting Greeks, Stephanie.
Hello. Oh, thank you so much for that great introduction. It's such an honor to be here with you. I've watched so many episodes from the past, and you always look like you're having so much fun. So when Foti approached me, how could I resist? But thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate your time.
So welcome, Stephanie. Now, here's the thing. It's interesting because, when I first saw your picture and, when Foti mentioned it to me, and I thought, I see this beautiful Greek girl who's getting all these great reviews. And I'm wondering if I say the word Maria Callas, is she like somebody you looked up to? Somebody, she was like considered.
Absolutely.
And she had the whole affair. So with Ari Onassis, and there's a great book called Greek Fire about their affair, because, the whole time they were she lived in Paris, and a diva, as you should be, because that's part of the process of it to a degree. And I know, and it's interesting because a contralto, which is a unique voice, it's not mezzo soprano. Your voice, and I've been reading the reviews on you, and it's amazing. You are loved. You have a lot of fans, and you're getting praise, which is wonderful. But this doesn't come easy, does it? How hard have you worked to get to this level? Because I know as an entertainer and as a performer and as an artist, you can make something look easy, but it's not. So when did you start?
It's great that you understand that. And I think you're so right, because a lot of people have the perception that if you're great at something, if you're a dancer, if you're a pianist, whatever you are, a comedian, that you're born with it. And I think there's this attitude, you're born with it. And you are, to an extent. You have to have that raw talent. I think if you don't have that potential, and certainly if you don't have the desire to do it, it's kind of a moot point. But we have a lot of training. I have a master's degree in music. Most of my colleagues do too.
Cool.
Some people have doctorate degrees. I don't, but a lot of people do. You end up having the same amount of training as a lawyer would, or a doctor, to say nothing of the apprenticeship sometimes that people do with opera companies. So the training doesn't end when you get your diploma, just like every career. So I think that there is a little bit of that misperception that it's easy. You have to have the passion, you have to have the talent, but there's so much work, and a lot of it really is showing up and putting it in. And I started when I was little. I always knew I liked performing. I used to rope my poor brother into doing shows with me at home. I would write plays, and he was very game, and he would play along. And I sang in, church choir growing up. I sang in some local choirs. I also performed. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the North Shore Music Theater, but it's a really wonderful regional theater in Beverly, Massachusetts. And I was so lucky to have grown up 10 minutes from there, not only for the exposure to go see performances, but also I performed in a few productions there too. So it really has been a lifelong thing. And then I didn't study it very seriously until college. I didn't take voice lessons until I was in college. I sang in high school. I did, many different things. But I had a voice teacher in college who said, you could do this if you wanted to try, I'd recommend applying to grad school. So I did. And that was that. And it's a very interesting career for sure. It's not my only career. I feel like I do need to be honest about it. That is, although I've performed for years, and in some cases with, prestigious ensembles and in prestigious venues, it's hard to make a full-time living doing it. And that's why I also work in marketing. I do thought leadership. And I love it. I really don't feel like it's a backup. I really enjoy it and have a passion for that too. So I think I'm a communicator. I communicate in my marketing work. I communicate in my performing work as a singer. At least I hope I do. So that's kind of how I marry everything together.
How did you feel when the professor told you that you could do this? That this is something you could pursue?
I was honored. And I felt validated, because I think, again, I'd had some professional performing experience growing up at the music theater. I did a couple of voiceovers too, and some commercials as a kid, but I didn't know. When you're a big fish in a small pond, as I sometimes was growing up, you don't know if you actually have the talent to, and what it takes to make it. So I felt really excited and proud, and also it was a little bit intimidating too, because I'd always heard that it was such a hard career, but I had some great examples to look to.
Now, it's interesting, Stephanie. I think you kind of grew up the way we all did, Greek immigrant parents, right?
My parents actually were born here, but grandparents.
So you're second generation then.
Yeah. My parents were born here.
So how supportive? Because here's the thing: when you're 14 years old and you want to tell your family you want to be a stand-up comic, they look at you like, what? Do you say Kacoyanis? They always like, but it's funny. And it's so interesting, because I always tell, because I got a lot of people now, and maybe you get the same thing, Stephanie. But what people come up to me now going, "Hey man, my kids love you. They love your comedy. You're such an influence. They really, any tips or advice?" And I always say, look, you hit it on the head earlier. What you said. This is a difficult business, and it's when it's rewarding, it's extremely rewarding. But when it's crap, it's crap. We hear you do auditions, funding falls out for a project.
You get rejected. I know.
For a tour or whatever the case is. We wanted a blonde. We didn't want a brunette. It's all those things that come into play that you can't tell people. So I always tell people this. I go, tell them no 4 times. And if they still want to pursue it, then the core of them wants to do it. Right? Because so for instance, I come and see one of your performances.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh my God, I love what she's doing. I want to do that. And that's great. It's the best compliment. Absolutely.
It's an honor. Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to fly at midnight? Are you willing to do? And I don't mean it in a bad way.
No,
I always find that I always tell people, I'm like, look, if this is what you really want to do, and like you said, I used to be a travel coordinator for the government of Canada, so I used to set up student work abroad program. but I was in the movie 12 Years a Slave, which is a Greek restaurant owner with his children working in it. Which is, so I did that joke at a thing here, 12 Years a Slave. I go, yeah, it's about a Greek kids working in a diner in New Jersey and they escape. So, and we laugh, but it's so true. and I always find it interesting because I know for a fact that, my dad would say to me, if you're going to do something, just do it right. And did you get, what kind of advice, was your family supportive of it? Were they, I'm curious because that's,
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I was very lucky. My parents have always been incredibly supportive of whatever I wanted to do. Same with my brother. And they were very much the typical Greek parents in the sense that education was always the most important thing.
Yeah.
But they said to me, you get an education, get a liberal arts degree, you can do whatever you want after that. And I think part of it is also my parents love music. They played classical music, Broadway, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, everything when we were growing up. So my brother and I were exposed to all kinds of things. And they're also passionate about theater. My father and mother both sing. They've done some community theater. My brother plays the guitar. My dad's an excellent pianist. Could have probably been a professional pianist, but he grew up with the very traditional Greek immigrant parents who said, you need to be a doctor or a lawyer, choose one. And, and so I think he felt a little bit that he wanted to encourage his kids to do something, to really follow their dream. But they were realistic and they did say, look, get an education. We're not going to let you move to New York when you're 13 and audition for a show. They let me do as much theater as I could balance with my homework, but school always came first. And looking back on that at the time, of course, as a kid, I kind of thought, I'd rather, maybe do some more things, but they were right. And I'm glad that they raised me that way. But they did say, yeah, if you want to do this, you can. And I think they never doubted my interest and my desire to do it, but they were realistic too.
Now, is it, I was reading news and review. You got some phenomenal write-ups,
Well, thank
New York Times. And I mean, this is really, and you're very modest, which is, so endearing for it because you can see when you get reviews or praise from your peers, it's one thing, your friends and family always say, even if I do a show and I suck, it wasn't that bad. No, it sucked. It wasn't good.
Yeah, you can be straight.
Whatever. The audience was horrible. They weren't horrible. I was horrible. But when you see, NPR radio and all these people that give you that stuff, and I always look at it this way, Stephanie. I always look at it as fuel for your next gig. So this is good, and I always say to people, look, it's a good thing. And it's always nice to hear it at the same time. And I have to tell you the truth. When I first heard your name, Kacoyanis, I performed at a theater in Athens, Greece. I filmed a special at the Michael Kacoyanis Theater.
Yes.
In Athens. Now, Michael Kacoyanis, very famous Greek, Zorba the Greek.
Yep.
He supported the arts. And at first, now you spell your name with a K. They spell it with a C. But K and C in Greek gets mixed up. No, is there anything?
I'm sure there is. We spell ours with the C too, actually.
Right.
But yeah, so it should be a K, really. Technically, we know that. But we don't know if there's an actual trace to Michael. I assume that we must have. It's an unusual name, so I'm sure that we do have I'll
tell you why I'm bringing this up because this is an amazing art center. When he died, he left part of his estate to this. And I would love, and they promote all kinds of arts. I was the first westernized comedian to go there. And they didn't know it's a nice theater. And what they did in the theater, they replicated from Delphi, the original theater, put it in, the same thing. And I thought, I don't know if you ever had a chance to go to Greece, but this, with being Stephanie Kacoyanis performing Kacoyanis Art Center, and this is an amazing space.
That would be a dream come true. I've been to Greece. I haven't been to the center, but I would, if we can put something together, I'm there for it. When COVID's over,
yes. Right,
I'd be happy. We can arrange. I do have some Greek pianists and other composers who I know. We could put something together, and I would love that.
That'd be great because they're really, and having worked with these people, and it's a great center. Like it's in Tavros in Athens. And when we went there, and when I went, you got to understand, comedy now is taking more shape and form because I travel everywhere. I'd never been to Greece performing. Wow. So when we went there, they thought I was nuts. I said, well, we're going to do this. But because of the social media and stuff, that we sold out the show.
That's great.
And then I ended up giving the money. It was during the debt crisis. So we gave the money to the Pedicon Nosocomio in Athens and their Foundation for the Arts.
Oh, wow.
And they loved it. But the Greek press ate it up big time. And just, looking at this stuff, I'm thinking down the road, we have contacts. We got to send some of your stuff there, and maybe you could turn it into a vacation/performance.
Oh, I'd love that. That would be absolutely fantastic.
Do you need any assistance for that?
We're going to go down. We're going to go see Stephanie in Greece.
I think you're all hired.
We're going to go down there. But the reason, what we like about the show, Stephanie, a lot of our guests, and we were just talking about it with the guys, a lot of our guests that have been on the show are getting hit on from all other news agents and media. So it makes us happy that we're able, not taking anything away from you, you're accomplishing what you're doing, but it's opening up a network of marketing. As you said, you're a marketer, you work in that type of thing. And in our business, we need it wherever we can get it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why, again, it's an honor to be here. And I love that about your show. I think anytime Greeks can help other Greeks, especially, and connect people, it's just such a great genesis for anything that could come later. You don't know the creativity that we have in our own community until you talk about it.
So we talk about it, and we don't.
Exactly. So it's great that we are.
Well, it's funny because when I first told some of my friends connecting Greeks, to go, what, are you opening a dating agency? What are you going to do? You going to bring people and connect them? I go, no, because it sounds like a dating app, right? Connecting
right.
Greeks. Hi, I'm Stavro. Hi, I'm Eleni. Hey, we both love feta cheese. Let's go out on a date. I mean, it's so stupid. And Forti and Adi were the ones who had created this. They fortunately or unfortunately dragged me into it because I'm unemployed now. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And because I love these guys.
Right.
But at the same time, there's somebody buzzing at the door. Probably another Amazon package because my wife never buys Amazon. Alina, there's somebody at the door. Welcome to showbiz. Showbiz.
Oh, I know. Showbiz in the time of COVID.
I bet you. Let me see. Is it an Amazon package? Yeah, it's another package. But my wife never shops. We're going to turn this into something else.
So it must be yours then, Angelo.
This is about you, Stephanie. What's this? Bring the package here for a second. Just bring it here. I got to show you guys something here. I want to show you guys something here. This is from Callister's Christmas. So look, here's a package.
Hold it in front of you.
I want you in front of me here. Callista it disappears with the.
That's probably a Christmas present, and you're ruining it right now.
Probably it's a big surprise.
Whatever.
She'll be very upset.
Whatever, man. So let me ask you. So Stephanie, let me ask you: how are you dealing with COVID? How is it affecting your life? I mean, what's going on with you in this? How's it affecting you? We want to hear.
Well, I think like everyone else, it's one day at a time, but I feel very fortunate. This is one of those times where I really feel fortunate that I have another career besides performing, besides singing, because all of my singing pretty much went away. Just like everyone else who's a live performer, you get it. I mean, it's one of those things. And of course, with singing especially, it's, and especially singing with an orchestra, doing an opera, that kind of thing. They're saying singers are super spreaders. When we're constantly breathing, the particles are coming out. They're finding out now that it may not be as bad as people thought, but you can't be on a crowded stage with an orchestra, with people backstage, electricians, lighting, people helping you backstage. You can't be that close to a conductor or your fellow singers. So every gig I had, of course, got canceled. I was supposed to sing at Tanglewood in the summer, off. Unfortunately, so one of the groups that I sing with very frequently is called the Lorelei Ensemble. It's an 8-voice women's chamber group. It's all singers. Yeah. Awesome. Really, really beautiful group. And we have been very lucky to collaborate with the Boston Symphony Orchestra a couple times. And we were supposed to do it again in this fall. And not only the Boston Symphony, but the Chicago, the National Symphony, all of these different symphony orchestras to do a world premiere. Get this, especially this year. The world premiere of a piece about the women's suffrage movement and the 100th anniversary of women getting the right to vote in the U.S. And it was commissioned for us, and it was commissioned for orchestra, and we've been looking forward to it. And of course, it's all postponed. So I'm just praying that it will get rescheduled and we'll have a plan going forward. Cool. But otherwise, what we, just like you, necessity is the mother of creativity, or I think I'm getting that wrong, but
no, you're right. Yeah.
But I've done a couple of virtual things. So I got a USB microphone, and Lorelei has done something where we each recorded independently and then we put it together and made a piece. About a month ago, and I actually put a plug in, we have available now to stream a holiday concert that Lorelei did, which we recorded in October, but we quarantined. I have to say, we quarantined. We each got 2 COVID tests, a person. Every engineer there, every sound person, all also got 2 COVID tests. So we did perform, and it was very moving. I mean, after not having sung with anybody in 9 months, it was really a moving experience, and it felt wonderful to be able to make live music again. Because as you all know, we feed off an audience, we feed off of one another. It's not any fun to sit in my apartment with a USB microphone and sing. But you do what you can, and I'm very grateful for that work. But it's the kind of thing where I don't think anyone will ever take live performance for granted again. I hope not any.
Well, you touched on something very near and dear to my heart, stuff, and it's like it's funny you stumbled onto that because we're doing Zoom stuff. So that's what I was going to ask you. There's something about going to the theater or the venue,
yes,
being in the dressing room, hearing the people slowly coming in, listening to the mumbling on the speaker, being live, getting that you see people, you feel the energy. And now I had to do this show in out of Dubai. It was an international show, and there was a guy. He didn't connect me to the people, and there's a guy in his screen looking at me like this. And I'm doing my routine, and they're telling me it's good, but I mean, there's no gauge to it. Or if they do activate, I did one on Saturday where you're doing the screen and you hear Scott, put that away, Scott, put it away right now. And they don't realize you can hear them. So you're doing your performance and no, give me another beer. No, the blue one. Yeah. What? Cheese. It's behind the lettuce. And they're talking and you're going, Timalakis, right? I go, I'm in the middle of doing a performance. So
I know. I
think the Zooming, like you said, you guys that's great because I mean we're going to talk about it towards the end. We're going to let people know where they can watch you. But they're telling me it's the new norm. I don't think it's the new norm. I think it's what we're dealing with now.
Yeah, I think Zoom can be great for certain things, but I think that when it comes, I mean, did you make your best art when the guy was up in your face like that? No, of course not. It's not. But I think I'm grateful to have it for what it is. It's better than nothing at all, and I hope that it makes people realize, wow, I can't wait to go see a live comedy show. I can't wait to go see a dance performance the minute this is over. But you're right, it's hard. And I think we don't realize, even if I'm singing a solo, I'm usually singing with a pianist or some other musician. And I cherish that partnership because it's still a collaboration. I hate the idea that it's someone accompanying me. No, it's making music together. It's always a team effort. Yeah. And when that's gone, you get much more insecure. I mean, I did so many takes of one thing for Lorelei that I was like, do I even know how to sing anymore? I don't know. And in person, it would have been fine.
Well, yeah, because you feel it. You imagine the guy's got his face in your screen. He's got this tricha coming out of his nose, his big hair. And I'm sitting there. All I can do is stare at the hair coming out of the guy's nose. I'm like, dude, pluck it. But, and if it was a live performance, I could tell him that. But I'm talking to the virtual people in this virtual world. Like, this is great. I think for what we're doing, it's perfect because this is a format built for it.
Is there a lack of like, I'm not a performer, so I'm asking you guys. Is there like this? There must be like a whole level of adrenaline when you see a big audience out there and you're walking out or you're anticipating walking out. I mean, that must be such a rush that I think you lose that with anything else that's not live, like Zoom or whatnot. Even though a lot of people will see you on Zoom, it's just not that same feel. Do you feel that way as well? Is there like that adrenaline rush in front of that big live audience?
There's not. No, I still feel a little bit of an adrenaline letdown when it's over because you're like, oh, I did it. It's, but yeah, you do miss that rush. I'm sure Angela feels the same way. It's definitely something that you miss when you walk out there and when you feed off of that. And back when we were saying, when you're doing it right, when it's going well and you're doing something fulfilling, it's the best feeling in the world. That's part of it. Of course, when it's not, then not. But yeah, it's something that I can see how people get addicted to it. And for me, it's not. I actually sometimes need to tune the audience out I am glad they're there, but if I fixate on it, sometimes it takes my focus away from what's actually happening on the stage. So it's kind of a fine balance, but that's the thing I love about live performance. It's never the same twice. It's always different. Even if you're doing the same concert, opera, 2 nights in a row, it's going to be different.
Now, Stephanie, besides your obvious talent
I don't know about
as
that.
a singer, you're extremely beautiful, which is a compliment. I mean, a compliment because, nowadays people could take it out of, but you are. Which is, but
you.
I can see you totally. Have you ever had the opportunity to perform on television or even film as another character? I could so see you because here I am. I'm an actor, comic, and producer, and I could so see you playing that role of the girlfriend or the sister or somebody. You know what I'm saying? Appears at work. Do you ever get an opportunity through your singing or even yourself to do film or television stuff or
little bit? So, I mean, by the way, if anyone's casting a movie about Maria Callas's life, wrong voice part, but I'm totally there.
Listen, Stephanie, when I saw you,
I can do that.
Complete. If I was to do a film about Maria Callas, life and a much younger version of Maria Callas, I look at you and right away that's the only thing that goes through my mind. So
thank you. No, I'm very flattered, and I would absolutely love it. But so to answer your question, I've done some background work in film. I have. I'm actually a member of SAG-AFTRA, so I've done enough that there's that. I've had a couple of auditions. It's not something I've devoted a ton of energy to. In some ways, I think I probably should have. But I haven't done any directly, but yeah, background work and film for sure. And I'm comfortable in front of a camera, so I'd be so open to doing more of that. But it's funny how the field is changing too. Classical music, it's becoming a lot more televised, not only from the pandemic.
Yes, it is.
Not only from the pandemic, but I think people have this perception, especially of opera. And I know I was guilty of this too growing up, that you think about it, it's like this really elitist art form. You have to understand 5 languages, to even remotely comprehend what's going on stage. It's very expensive, and it's only a very rarefied thing. You sit in an opera house in a tux. You don't. And it's really changing. There's so much more that's being televised. The Metropolitan Opera broadcasts in HD that they show in movie theaters are wonderful because they show what's happening on stage, but then they cut to backstage and like someone comes off after doing this very dramatic death scene and someone's interviewing them like, how did that go for you? How'd you feel about that? And I love it because it makes opera like sports and much more interactive. And I think what's interesting about that, and certainly a big part of my training, and granted, so I don't know if I said this, but my background really in performing was in the theater. I did musical theater and theater growing up and then opera later. So I've always loved acting. I've always felt comfortable doing it. And I've always felt like, why do something if you're not going to it? And opera is getting to be more like that now, especially with the advent of HD. And so they had this thing called the park and bark, which the park and bark was you stand on the front of the stage, you park and you bark. You just like open your mouth and that's it.
Right.
And one of the and now it's changed where the opera in HD, they're doing close-ups while singing, which as a singer is terrifying because you're like, oh, I like Hades. But it actually has made the art form, I think, more authentic from an acting perspective. And the reason why Maria Callas in many ways was ahead of her time was not only her instrument, but she was such a brilliant actor. She really was. And on stage, she did almost nothing, but it was her eye. She didn't do crazy gestures. It was all her eyes. And it was just, if you were on stage with her, you were just sucked into her presence. And so I think she was an opera singer for the ages. That's part of her enduring appeal. Yeah, there was the affair with, Aristotle Onassis. And yes, she was gorgeous and glamorous, which is all true. But I also think as a performer, she was ahead of her. And I think I'm happy to see the field changing that way.
Well, for all my Hollywood friends listening, producers in New York and in LA, if you guys are thinking of doing a movie about Maria Callas, we have Stephanie Kacoyanis here. And I get the vibe off you. I listen. It's like, I can just see from the moment you start talking, I'm like, this she's got something. She does.
Oh, thank
and the thing is, it's funny because I've done musical theater. I played Big Jewel in Guys and Dolls.
Oh, that's a great role. That's so much fun.
Role, Big Jewel. And I did, people, what you do, you can do that. Yeah. I mean, I was always interested in it. Stand-up comedy was a product because I just couldn't pay attention. I had the attention span of a goldfish. So in classes, I was constantly doing that and then doing mainstream and doing that. But you always you find the best performers are the ones that hidden talent wise, like you said, and especially when I've been to opera and musical theater because I really do enjoy it. I mean, I give an example, and this is the weirdest moment. I was a big fan of Donna Summer, the disco queen. To me, she's the queen of disco. Loved all her stuff. So I told my wife, she's my wife's younger than me. I'm a bit older than you guys, not by much, much older than Stephanie. Me and the other two weirdos here, we're just kind of like your uncles talking.
We're like AARP.
AARP. Like let's put it this way, Stephanie. If we go to House of Pank, IHOP, we're going to get a discount, at least 10%. Okay, so I had tickets to go see Donna Summer the musical. That shocked my wife. She goes, "You want to go see what?" I go, "I want to go see Donna Summer the musical. I love her music. I grew up with that music." It's okay. So she's cool. She goes, "I want to go see it." So then my friend Russell Peters, who's one of the biggest comedians in the world, finds out that I got tickets to Donna Summer the musical at Pantages Theater in Hollywood. He goes, "I want to go." So I go, "What?" "I want to go too. I'm a big fan of hers." So my wife says, "Well, because you guys are on the road all the time, here, why don't you guys have the tickets? You can have a date with each other." And I took Russell. We went to Musso and Frank for dinner, and then we went to Donna Summer the musical. And it was all her hit songs, but it's also a full musical. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
But as we were walking out, I couldn't help but nobody looked at us twice because it's Hollywood. And all I kept thinking was, I said to Russell as we're walking out of the theater, I go, "Who do you think they think is the dad, and who do you think they think is the mom?" And he started laughing at me but the truth is, if it's got no gender bias here. If you love music, if you love art, it doesn't matter, right?
Absolutely.
It's whatever moves.
Right.
Have you had the chance, Stephanie, to read the book Greek Fire?
No, but it's on my list. I saw the movie about her recently, and I've read another a biography of her. And I've watched some of the master classes that she gave at Juilliard in the 70s, which those are tremendous. Watching her work with the younger singers, imagine how intimidating, but also incredibly amazing that would have been.
It would be for something like
a small piece of trivia, useless trivia, but her real name is Maria Kalogeropoulos, which is my last name, and my mom's name is Maria Kalogeropoulos. So now you know.
So we know. Here.
So
did the genes rub off on you? Do you have an amazing voice as well, and you're just hiding your light under a bush?
Yes,
I have if you consider like Kermit the Frog and Ray Romano hybrid is amazing voice, and I got it.
Angela, from
sound like if Fred Stoller had a Greek brother.
Angela, from this point on, Angela, from this point on, we're introducing Ari as Ari Callis show.
Ari Callis now. Ari Callis.
I think we should just call him Aria Callis. I know it's a women's name, but Aria, that's kind of.
Oh, that's great.
I'll take it.
Aria Callis. I'm sorry, I just gave you a new name.
I will take it.
Perfect.
I want a part in the movie too.
Aria Callis. Yes. And so I mean it's interesting because we here's the deal about without I think it was Einstein said it, without art there's no life, right? And I mean the truth of the matter is that one thing we've learned, and you said it earlier, Stephanie, as a result of this pandemic, the one thing people are starving for is entertainment in every shape and form, because we can't watch any more Netflix. We can't tell the same street jokes to each other. And I think it's something that is, being in Hollywood, my daughter goes to Creation Stage, and they did, and she loves, she takes jazz and ballet and that kind of stuff. And they did this thing, they have musical theater here. And she did a thing called Beauty and the Beast Junior.
Nice.
And she out there, and we were all there, and I thought, and then I pulled her aside because I've had agents come up to me, "Your daughter's beautiful. I want to put her in." I'm like, "Nah, I don't want my kid in showbiz." Right. But at the same time, I say this to her every time. And I wonder if people say this to you. I go, "You did really good, Olivia. Did you have fun?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "Do you want to do it again?" She goes, "Yeah." Okay. That's all I need to hear.
Exactly.
Do you find it's the same for you? I mean, sometimes it can be grueling, but at the same time, do you ever wake up going, "Man, I'm so happy I did that"? Does that give you the adrenaline rush?
It does. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of self-doubt. It's not a field. You get rejected. Like you were saying before, you go to auditions, or there might be something biased, like they want a blonde, not a brunette. And especially with voice types, this is what's hard about voice too, is that, and especially I think with comedy too, because that material is your own. If they're rejecting the material or if they're rejecting the voice, they're rejecting you. That's how it feels sometimes anyway. That's not true.
And it's not necessarily the fact.
No, not at all. But, I have as a contralto especially, I have a very dark timbre. It's a dark sound. Other people have very light sounds. And that can be great or it can be bad. It's not one or the other. It's like you want blue eyes or brown. They're both great. But again, it can feel very personal when someone's taking that away. And I think that I know I would have regretted it if I didn't try this career. There are times where I say, well, what if I hadn't gone to grad school and invested that time and that money, in that degree? I probably could have, had a higher salary now doing other things. I don't know, but I would have regretted it. And when I do have a great experience and I wake up in the morning and say, yeah, I can't wait to do this today, it does validate that I made the right choice. And sure, there are parts where you reevaluate. There are some things that I don't do anymore as a performer because it doesn't mean something to me anymore. And I'm lucky that I have that luxury that I can be a little choosier now. Right. But I think especially for performing for the pandemic, people say, oh, what have you been doing? And some days it's great to practice because you think, oh, I can practice what I want to sing, not what I'm contracted to do that, maybe it's not the best thing for my voice, but I have to do it. But then there are other days where it's just kind of like, oh, I wonder when I'll ever sing for a live audience again. And you feel kind of wah. And I'm not depressed, but it can be a little bit like, well, what's the point? So I think that, I certainly feel that way. But yeah, when things change, or if you work with a conductor and they're not supportive and you're feeling like, I don't want to work with that toxic anymore, you can walk away. It's like anything else. Right. So
let me ask you, in your range, you play it, does it tend to be more maternal roles? Right? Am I right? Is it
sometimes it's not always maternal. It's witches, the mean people.
Okay.
I won't use the word, but there's kind of a trifecta of low, mezzo, alto, and it's basically witches, mean women. That sounds like also witches, and then and women who are, let's say, sexually very liberated. So or it's like the old person, not necessarily the maternal, but kind of the old
great roles.
Yeah, a lot of many. So I've done aging makeup more times than I can care to tell you, and gray wigs and all this, and that's just the way it is. It's not how I look physically. It's not my age, but it's the way my voice sounds. And so, and again, that's why it's almost your voice, by the way, the human voice, if you train it properly as a singer, especially as a female singer, you don't hit your peak until you're in your 40s, maybe even your 50s if you take care of your instrument. It's not like a ballet dancer where you're over the hill by the time you're 25. So it's great that we have that luxury. And as long as so that's part of the way it develops. And for male singers, also lower voices, they might peak in their 50s. So it's kind of the lower the instrument, the more you train, the longer kind of a time span you have before you grow into it, which is frustrating when you're younger because you want to sing all the big roles yesterday. But it also, it bears waiting. But I mean, like the role I did in February, Queen Mary, that was playing Bloody Mary, the queen who is famous for cutting off a bunch of people's heads. That's not
a role.
I'm rarely the ingenue. Rarely. I might be, if I'm not playing someone old, I'm the funny sidekick. But you know what, though? Those roles are, and
I was going to say
growing up, I was kind of upset about that. But then you have so much more fun, I think. I'm biased, but.
No, I totally agree with that.
Well, you see, have you ever done Commedia dell'arte, the Renaissance? Because I got to play Signor Brigante and my daughter Francescina. So it was when we did Commedia dell'arte, which is an Italian style, which were comedies, but kind of like think of it's a fusion, a bit of opera, a lot of acting and passion, singing. And we did these, and the guy, when I went in drama, they go, okay, you're Signor Brigante. The guy looks at me and goes, you're Signor Brigante, no doubt. What do you mean? No, you're the guy. You're that's him, Yeah. So do you ever find sometimes that if you go for something and what I was able to do, they like the fact that I was able to add an element of comedy in it, which sometimes happen depending on how it's written, of course.
Right.
Queen Mary cut their heads off, or great, whatever, copsita kefaliatus, other things. But I always find it's interesting because it also gives you an introspect as an artist. So when I tell people I've done this, they kind of stare at me. What do you mean you did this? You don't. And do you find it's the same thing where, for instance, when you go, has it ever happened to you where you go in to read for something and once they meet you, no, you're this girl. you're the queen of Sweden. Like, does that ever happen to you? One thing when they submit you, but when you go in, they see you as somebody else.
It's. I know exactly what you're saying, and that's happened to me a little bit with musical theater. It doesn't happen, and I love that you've done Commedia dell'arte because that is hard. I already had respect for you, but now it's like even more. Comedy is so hard. Everyone thinks, that people tend not to win the big acting awards for comedy, and I think that's such a shame because it's harder. It's harder.
It's easier to make you cry than laugh.
Absolutely, it is. But in opera, I will say it doesn't quite work that way because you do need to have a certain voice type. So even if they look in and they see physically, unless there are a couple roles that are very similar, and that does happen where, you could do one or the other and it doesn't really matter. Generally, if they're bringing in, if there's a distinctive voice that has to be a contralto or a low mezzo, they're not going to say, oh, she should really play the soprano lead. Or at least it would sound really bad. So you are more restricted than you are for an acting or for a musical theater where maybe the demands of the range and of the style of the music isn't quite as prescribed. But
cool.
Yeah.
So you're born in Boston.
Yes. Yeah.
You have one brother.
I do.
Your parents, your whole background is stuff. In general, do you like to travel? Like, what do you like what's your life like? I mean, do you like, Boston's got so many great restaurants. I love, There's a place I went to, Stephanie. I don't know if Forty and Adi have been there in Philadelphia. I did a show there in Upper Darby and I met Harry, I call him the Vekasti. He's a judge, but he's in a Greek band. It's really funny. The Vekasti. I hope you're watching, Harry, because I love you. I did a show for the community there and they took me to a restaurant in Philadelphia. Okay, where the waiters are serving you, then at one point they stop, they play opera, and the guy starts singing. Which I don't know if you know the name of the place, and they're all part. The owner of the restaurant is a big supporter of the local opera scene, and he employs these singers at his restaurant. So you're getting fettuccine alfredo, and all of a sudden, the music is like, and you're like, well, what the hell's going on here? And I was like, hey, is the guy having an aneurysm? And then he goes, no, they sing.
Oh, it's just opera. Aneurysm, just a high note.
But I thought, what a cool thing that you're getting this amazing Italian food in Philadelphia. And the guy who supports the local art scene is also employing these people and allowing them to perform, which is part of the niche of eating there.
Right.
Is there anything like that in Boston?
Off the top of my head, no. But during COVID in the summer, when it was actually nice in Boston and it wasn't pitch black at 4 p.m. like it is now, we did in the North End, which is the Italian section of Boston, amazing restaurants there. There was one restaurant that has a little balcony, and some people, opera singers, would get hired to go stand on the balcony and sing for the people in the street below.
Oh, cool.
And it was a very controlled kind of thing for COVID safety reasons, but there was that going on. But I can't say, there have been a couple of things where there are certain nights, like we've done opera brunches at a bar. I've participated a couple times at a bar in Somerville. That's really fun.
Nice.
And there have been sort of one-off things. There's one group in town that does that, but they kind of move around. It's not a one restaurant that's what, unfortunately.
How many times you get mistaken for Italian in Boston?
So many.
I was going to say, because when I look at you could pass for, my wife's the same way, right? You could easily pass for Italian, Greek, Arabic, Lebanese or Middle Eastern. I mean, and is that work in your favor? Because I think it does, right?
I think those are all absolutely gorgeous ethnicities. So I'm going to say that it works in my favor. I don't know. Yeah, it's, I think Italian and Greeks were neighbors. I mean, obviously that's true. I did one of those, ancestry tests where you swap, and I was mostly Greek, definitely, but also Italian, significantly, which I didn't know about in my family. But again, it makes sense. And who knows how accurate those are, but also Middle Eastern. My family is from Asia Minor. So I had family from Smyrna and Alaska.
Smyrna, that's where my grandparents are from.
Oh, really? We're probably related.
I
hope so.
My parents, my mom was from Mytilene.
My grandfather was from Mytilene.
So there you go. They're Smyrniotes, right? They were Mikrasiotes. Mikrasiotes, they came out of Greece. My dad's from Sparta, so they just want to kill everything. So that doesn't count. But you're going from
enough, I'm sure we'll all realize we're all related, and that's
all related somewhere there.
I hope we are anyway.
Well, it's great. I think probably the same thing when the Turks were because my wife's Armenian. So, when they got rid of the Armenians and the Greeks and the Assyrians, when they came out. So it's funny that you say that it's funny because my mom's a Nisiotisa. She's from the islands, a little bit more open, a little bit more gregarious. Mom's the joker. She's the funny one. And dad, Sparta. If we don't understand something, we kill it. Get a spear, get a vikano. It's just completely different. So are both your parents, so you're Asia Minor and your other side of the family's from where?
Both sides actually. There's a little bit. So my father's side, Alatsata, and then my mother's side, Smyrna, and also Mytilene. And her great grandmother also had a home growing up on Egina. So obviously that's not there. But they say that the Greeks from Asia Minor are the best cooks because the influences of the diaspora, of everybody that came together in that area. There were, Middle Eastern spices, Armenian influences, Turkish, all these delicious cuisines. So I'll take credit for being from the area where the cooking is the best. But that's where we're from. And my father's mother, my yaya, on his side was Greek, but born in Damascus and then grew up in Cairo. Kind of from all over, although her family was Greek.
Right, because they were all there at the time.
Exactly.
Those are descendants of Alexander. And you think about it, because all that was colonized by the Greeks, these people were unorganized and uneducated. I'm going to sound like that dad now. They were unorganized and uneducated until the Greeks, they show up there. And they show these people how to live the life. I always loved the dad,
he's great. He's wonderful.
It was great. I mean, I thought I ran into him once in Studio City, and he's just as grumpy as he is on the movie. And I wanted a picture with him, Stephanie. I go, I take a picture. He goes, no. I go, well, I'm going, but okay. And then I take a picture. I'm all happy. He's like,
he was in character. He wasn't acting at all in that movie. No,
he was. You're right. You don't have to. A Greek dad's just what it is. So it's like, well, that's wonderful. And do you cook? Do you like to cook?
I do love to cook, and I've been doing a lot more of it during the pandemic. The one thing you were asking me, Boston, my old life before times, I love to eat out. I love to try new places. I love running into Foti at Cava. It's such a beautiful place, and the food's.
What's this place called?
Cava Neo Taverna. It's in the South End, and
I've heard of it, but
so
never
good.
gone there because Foti, the Tiguni, won't take me there.
The wine is awful. No, I'm kidding.
That's the place you're telling me. Foti, we'll go next time.
Absolutely.
I'll meet you there. It's wonderful. Awesome. And so I love to try that out. We, see shows. Boston has this, they call it sort of the Athens of America. And we have great ballet. We have theater. We have comedy. We have whatever. And I love being involved with that. I do love to travel. I miss that so much. Yeah. And, like you, Angelo, when we were talking about touring, so much of the travel that I end up doing is touring. I tour a lot with Lorelei, and sometimes the destinations are not necessarily where you choose to go. The good thing about that is that I've gone to a lot of states where I probably never would have gone.
Sure.
So that's great. I love to, have my mind opened and see different things, but I like travel, even if it's business or whatever. I just think as long as you're going with good people, you have a good time. And
it's all an experience, no matter where you go.
You just end up, listen, you just wake up and you're like somewhere, dark Wyoming or something.
I went to Wyoming last year. I sang in Wyoming last year.
Nice.
And it was I actually wished I had more time there because we were in this cute city called Sheridan, and they had this beautiful saddle museum. I went there. They had these cute bars. And as you know, sometimes you're on a really tight schedule. So you kind of go in, you rehearse, you sound check, you sing, and then the next morning you wake up and drive to Colorado. So it was one of those, but I wish I could have spent more time there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look, Stephanie, first of all, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show today. And I mean, you're very, very entertaining and talented human being. I'll say that.
Thank you. Well, that's, in being in your company as well, this has just been so much fun.
It's mutual. I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
And with the guys, and before we're going to ask you a few things before you go. We got Foti does a segment where he asks you some questions.
Okay.
Before we let you go, though, can you tell us where can people find you on social media, and about your Christmas concert thing, where people can find it? Because Ari puts it all out all over the place.
Perfect. Great. So my website is www.stephaniekacoyanis.com. So it's my full name, .com. And then I'm on Facebook as well. I'm on Twitter. So find me there. If you just look up my name, I should be searchable there. And then the Christmas concert is with Lorelei Ensemble, and I can maybe type it in the chat, but if you go to loreleiensemble.com/holiday, and I can also follow up with the links, .com/holiday, you'll be able to stream the video. So I hope that you will do so. Thank you so much for putting in the plug.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we're here for, to connect. Now I'm going to turn it over to for Boston's most uneligible bachelor.
Thank you, Angela. That was great. I just want to say, not only was this a delight, because obviously, coming to Cava, forth, having good conversations and so forth. This was an honor.
Oh, thank you. Well, I miss seeing you around town. I really do. So,
yeah, it's been very strange. And Ari, every time that I've been out, every time he calls me, he's like, "Where are you now?" Now it's like, "Nah, man."
Yeah. I've never heard those words from him until
go.
Right? But Stephanie, we always like to get to know our guests a little closer, and by that we ask certain questions. As Greeks and Greek Americans or Greeks from abroad, I think we all share some experiences, likes, and so the first question we like to ask: your favorite and least favorite.
Okay. Oh, it's kind of tough. I mean, I would say my favorite probably has to be, it's a tie, and they're very different. It's probably a tie between spanakopita and galaktuburiko.
Oh.
Yeah, right. I know. And then my least favorite is, I don't know. It's hard to think because there's not much that I don't like. But if there's anything that's like greens, like with the horta, it's not my favorite. Too bitter.
I hate it too.
Sorry, I know it's healthy and it's good for you.
Cocorezzi, forget it, man.
All right, greens as it is. Horta. Dandelions. Has anyone in your family picked dandelions on the store?
Oh, not only dandelions, but grape leaves. So my great yaya, Stamatia, yes. And I loved her very much, but she would, see like, oh, I see some grape leaves, and my mother would pull over.
Pull over.
Classic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, you did mention you've been to Greece.
I have.
So we always, for us, going to Greece, no matter where you go, it's pretty cool. But if there was one place you can choose to spend the rest of your life,
Santorini. And I know that that's really probably overplayed, but I just thought it was stunning when I went there. I just didn't feel like you're at the edge of the world.
It's definitely magical, for sure.
It is.
And then the last thing we like to ask, Stephanie, is obviously growing up with Greek parents and so forth, most memorable sayings or Greek sayings from either of your parents or growing up.
Okay. So can I say it's an uncle who started it, but now everyone says it? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some of my Greek friends in Boston have heard me say this, but I had this wonderful uncle who would say, technically a cousin really, but called him an uncle. And he said, Greeks all want to be the CEO of Tipota.
Awesome.
And he just meant it's the opposite of what's going on right now. But he just meant sometimes we know Greeks can be a little competitive, or, they think they're really in charge of stuff, but they just want the attention and they don't actually get anything done. They just talk and they just want people to be like, oh, Ines Budeo, So I think that when he said Greeks all want to be the CEO of Tipota, it just became this funny expression in my family that we
Angela, I'm appointing Ari as the CEO of Tipota from now on.
CEO of Tipota. I love that stuff.
I have been the CEO of Tipota for a long time.
Ari Callis.
But I thought that he was going to sing. He's the resident opera singer now. He can't be also the CEO of Tipota. Or I guess he could because the title's meaningless. But
right?
I guess it would work. But
well, that's great. I guess I'm going to hand it over to Ari now.
Yeah,
an hour went by fast. It was so much fun talking to you, Stephanie.
Oh, it's been, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this so much and thrilled to be here. And I had the best time with you. I wish all of my Zoom meetings could be there.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you again for having the time and being with us. And Angelo, we love you. And, you're on lockdown. Things are going to get better. So keep hope alive. We're going to be connecting Greeks in the meanwhile. And Foti, thanks, Foti.
Absolutely.
Look at the Greek flag over there. So thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. And we're going to have the video and the podcast out tomorrow. We're going to link up Stephanie's information, all her links. and you guys will be able to catch it all over the place. Thank you, everybody. Again, thanks, Stephanie. And we will
thank
see
you
guys
so
next
much.
Bye, Stephanie. Bye, honey.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.